Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, Professor. My name is Mukund Kumar, student number 8789277, and this is just a summary of what I did in the case study. Without further ado, what I essentially did was I answered a single central question, which is how does the emergence of digital monetary instruments and the advancement of technology affect banking risks, and what should the UAE banks do in response? And so essentially there were four parts to the case study plan, and I essentially treated the four parts as four different angles to solve the same exact, to study the same exact issue. So in part one, I looked at the operational gap in banking. So I studied the structure of the ADCB bank and found a massive operational gap in terms of, for example, early loan payments, and proposed a solution which, I've calculated that it results in around 8 to 10 million dirhams in savings right off the bat. And the best part is it doesn't require the implementation of completely new infrastructure. It is something that already runs on the existing infrastructure. So you have ANI, instant payments, and you have UAE Pass. And this alone is enough to implement the strategy. But it results in, on a per customer basis, around 7 to 10 days of saved time, and it saves around, well, as I discussed, 8 to 10 million dirhams per year, and that's just on a conservative level. And then, of course, in part two, I looked at a volatility study of Bitcoin and used that to analyze whether Bitcoin can be actually used as a viable currency for exchange of resources. And also the observation of Zengo wallets, and in part three I looked at how certain events, like for example money laundering and sanctions events calculated between the years 2016 and 2023, how they affect the perceived risk of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And in part four, I compared stable coins, CBDCs, and tokenized deposits, applied eight different monetary theories, did a cross-comparative study using Basel III standards. And the main three currencies I looked at, and I looked at them for different reasons, is the digital dirham and the electronic Chinese yuan and the Nigerian naira. And the reason for that is obviously the digital dirham is the most relevant to the UAE context, obviously. The yuan is perhaps the most successful central bank digital currency. And the naira is, I believe it was one of the first ones to be implemented, but however, due to reasons which I explained, including, for example, a low perceived social trust of the Nigerian central government, the naira ultimately failed. So we included that in the study as a cross comparison on essentially what not to do. It's like Thomas Edison said, I found 1,000 ways to how to not make a light bulb. So we are essentially operating on that same exact logic. We also took a look at the Circle.com USDC dev console, and essentially all of the parts that I mentioned weren't mentioned as part one, part two, part three, part four, but is a coherent, unified analysis of the digital banking and money landscape. And I think you will find it to be a pretty decent report. And thank you for your time, sir. You have a wonderful day.